اتفضل.
This meeting is recorded.
بسم الله والابن والروح القدس واحد امين. تحلنا نعمته ورحمته وبركته من الان والابد امين.
So can you see my screen? You can see my screen now. Okay. سامعني وشايفين السكرين؟ Hi.
شفنا السكرين يا دكتور. اوكي، في مفتاح في السكرين
دلوقتي في مفتاح. Yes. Okay. So I'm so happy to be with you tonight for this topic, and thank you, Abuna. Thank you all for inviting me for that session. Okay, we will talk about visual aids, a very interesting topic and very much common sense. As much as time allows, we may cover some or all of these points, why it is important, the basic principles of visual aids or visualization in general, then some tools and forms of visual aids that we can use as we serve God through teaching, and just we may have, if time allows, we may discuss what kind of visualizations that may be effective with adults but not effective with kids. Okay. So why are visual aids important? I can think of 4 things: attention, perception, retention, and synergy. So some scientific information here about visual aids in classroom. It improves learning by 400%. The brain processes visuals in 250 milliseconds. So so many scientific facts that tell us that the brain processes visual information much faster and easier, and much more visual information, much more than any other kind of information like oral or written or anything else. Okay, so attention. Visual aids attracts attention, grabs attention, draws attention to your lesson, to whatever you are telling or teaching. 2, perception. Visual aids help us understand more, learn more, have a clear idea about things. So if you study chemistry and you know how hard it is to imagine the molecules, for example, and if you have these tools, it makes it much easier to understand the molecules. Okay. And then retention, our ability to remember things. We remember things when we see it. And it also saves time. Imagine, you see this picture with 3 people. if you try to explain the concept in text, how many words do you think you can use to explain the concept in words without a picture? Can you give me an estimate number of words, lines, or pages? Hello?
10?
10 what?
Like sentences or like?
Yeah, 10 sentences at least, I would say. Yeah. Yes. So, and if you see this picture and read these 10 sentences, what's the best way, like which one you more likely will be able to remember, the picture or the 10 sentences?
The picture.
Of course. Okay, so visualization help us and help our students when we teach to understand clearly and remember what we learn. And synergy, which means the various elements potentiate each other, strengthen each other. So if you learn something by listening to it, you may remember 10%, but if you learn something by watching it, you will remember 20%. But if you put them together, you will remember 80%. And this is called synergy, like the oral information strengthen the visual information and vice versa. So instead of 10 plus 20 equals 30, but what happens in actuality, we learn much more than 30%. We remember much more than 30% simply because these two channels strengthen each other when they work together in conveying the same message. Okay, any question about that? Shabab?
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we know that visualization is important. Visual aids are important in teaching and in presenting and in marketing and advertising and everything, and in so many things. Now, let's cover some basic principles of visualization. When you use images or charts or videos or pictures or whatever the form and the tool we are going to use, we will talk about the forms and the tools in a few minutes. There are some principles. One principle is contrast. Okay, so contrast is important. Make sure that your picture or your infographic or whatever the form you are going to use has enough contrast, especially if you're using text over pictures or text over any kind of background. Contrast is important because it grabs attention, and when there's text, it is essential to make the text clear and easy to read by using contrast. The other element is alignment. When you prepare a PowerPoint presentation, for example, make sure that the elements on the same slide are well aligned vertically, horizontally, equally distributed all over the slide, things like that. So pay attention to alignment because it helps the person who's learning. It helps the learner to comfortably look into the slide and learn from it. The third element or the third principle in using visual aids is use aids that convey a meaning and a feeling. Use expressive tools, pictures or drawings that is easy to feel and to notice an expression in it, not just cold-blooded decorations. Okay? Any comment or question till now? Give me any voice. I can't see you while I'm sharing my screen, so every now and then I need some of you just tell me that you are okay.
I'm okay.
Okay. So one of the principles of visual aids in general is repetition, is to have one element that is being repeated and perhaps in a different way. Yeah, patterns are good in visual design in general. So yeah, so if you're using like the text box in the form of rectangles, let them repeat in a certain pattern, or in circles, let them repeat in a certain pattern. If you're also colors, so shapes or colors, repetition create a pattern, and pattern makes the eye comfortable to look into the visual aid we are using. Matching, and by matching I mean two things. The first thing is use colors that are matching together. And the other thing is the matching games. Can use these kind of cards or games, and of course you can make them and you can develop them to suit the lessons we teach. So we can adapt this to our lessons. Relevance. Be careful or be consistent about the relevance of your visuals. Your visuals must convey a message, must be in line with the meaning and the feeling you want to convey to your students. Again, it's not just, don't use a picture just because it is a beautiful picture or because it is a skillful diagram or something like that. No, make sure that your visuals are relevant to what you're teaching. Then visualization. Visualization is a skill. It is very hard in the beginning, but if we practice it, it becomes easier and we become very good at it. By visualization, I mean transforming ideas into pictures or expressing the idea with drawings and pictures even without any words, or with very, very few words. Like this. One of the best ways of practicing and training yourself on visualization is to watch these kind of caricatures or cartoons, especially those without words, those pictures that convey the meaning without words or with very few words, like this one on the slide. These are other examples. Can you get the meaning of these pictures? Somebody says yes or no. Hello. Oh, this is harsh. So these are examples of visualization. Okay, imagine that I'm showing you this text, or I'm just saying it in a lecture. We remember 20% of what we read, 30% of what we hear, 40% of what we see, 50% of what we say, 60% of what we do, and 90% of what we read, hear, see, say, and do. Is this the best way to share this information? No. What about this? We remember 20% of what we read, 30% of what we hear, 40% of what we see, 50% of what we say, 60% of what we do, and 90% of what we read, see, say. Read, hear, see, say, and do. Is the way of writing the text this way is better than the previous one? Do you think so? Hello.
Yes.
Okay. So although I didn't use any drawing here, but just using I arranged the text in a certain way. I used the font size to help with conveying the message. It might be helpful. How about that? We remember 20% of what we read, 30% of what we hear, 40% of what we see, and so on and so forth. I think this is better. Or this way, 20% of what we read, 30% of what we hear, 40% of what we see, 50% of what we say, 60% of what we do, and 90% of what we read, hear, see, say, and do. You think it's better? So you can do this. You can use pictures, graphs, any kind of visualization of visual aid to support your message, to support your teaching, to help people learn better. Okay? So what are the tools or the forms that we can use in our teaching? By the way, how much time do I have? Abuna Man? قد يعرف طيب? Anybody knows how much time do I have for usually? Are you still with me?
Maybe 9.
Okay.
I don't know for sure. Don't take my word.
Don't
Yani,
worry. I will
think.
finish much earlier than that, I think. Okay. Okay. So some forms, this is not an exhaustive list, but the main tools and forms of visual aids are here, not all of them. So slideshows, aka PowerPoint presentations, is one of the most famous ways of visual aids. Videos, GIFs. GIFs are some short videos that are light and they repeat themselves because they're very short. Pictures, maps, graphs, charts that you hang on the wall, and perhaps they can be interactive and participatory. So people can add or change things on the charts during a lesson or something. Posters, infographics, props or realia, using real things. So if you want to talk to people about staplers, you can just show them a stapler, show them a candle with, I don't know, what is that? Flickering candle. Anything. Use real things. Venn diagram. Venn diagram. We use it when we to show similarities and differences between things. When there are area of overlap or similarities between A and B or A and C, things like that. Matrix. So if you want to tell people that being optimist does not contradict being realistic. So we can be realistic optimist because optimism is not against realism, it's against pessimism. So you can put optimist and pessimist in one axis, put realistic and unrealistic on another axis, then you have 4 aspects of it. This gives clearer understanding when you compare 2 things that are not against each other. Important and urgent, for example. Things like that. We use matrix. This is the simplest form of matrix. Timeline. Perhaps you are teaching something from the church history, or the book of Acts, or the life of Jesus, or something from the historic books of the Old Testament. You can put the sequence of events in a timeline, and better, you can help your student build this timeline and hang these phases or stages or steps on the wall in a chronological order. And the last form or tool I want to address is mind mapping. There are mind mapping or concept mapping. software out there, but I'm old school. I use the blank papers, and these papers should be horizontal, not vertical, landscape, not portrait, and without lines, should be blank pages. And you start with a central idea and see branches, and you can use colors, drawings. You can use the thickness of each line to express how important it is, or how closer to this the central idea, and so on. So mind maps is a very, very effective visual aid, especially when we are brainstorming a topic or something, or a project. And finally, abstract visualization. So when an adult looks into a picture like that, we may understand what it means. But for kids, abstract visualization is not a suitable way of teaching or conveying messages, because a kid may not be able to grasp any meaning behind that. With that, I'm done with my presentation today. Isn't it fast? Guys?
Good presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. أقول أنا خلصت.
تمام يا دكتور. معلش، هو انا في زياره كده، في مشكله، فاخطيت يعني.
لا خالص خالص. تمام.